Hello,
Hello,
Holistic
Holistic
Chamber of
Chamber of
Commerce
Commerce
family.
family.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
today's
today's
First
First
Spotlight.
Spotlight.
I have
I
with
have with
me
me
Tricia
Tricia
Fortina,
Fortina,
and she's going to
and
be
she's going to
talking
be
about
talking about
getting the
getting the
toxins out
toxins
of
out
our
of
water.
our water.
Just a little
Just
bit
a little
about
bit
Tricia.
about
She's
Tricia.
been
She's
active
been
in
active in
the arts as a
arts as a
craniosacral
craniosacral
therapist for
therapist for
32 years.
32 years.
And then
And
13
then
years
13 years
ago,
ago,
paired up with
paired up with
multi-pure
multi-pure
drinking water
drinking water
filters.
filters.
This helps
This
keep
helps
the
keep the
plastic water
plastic
bottles
water
out of the
bottles out of the
environment
environment
and
and
safely helps
safely
people
helps
clean up their
clean up
water
their water
without
without
wasting any
wasting any
water.
water.
Welcome, Tricia.
Welcome, Tricia.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here. Thank you.
So let's just start out and talk about the toxins in our water, because we all drink water, we might have tap water, but we may not even realize what we're ingesting.
Okay, and it turns out that there's about 20,000 drinking water filters on the market. And what makes multi-pure drinking water filters stand out is that they're super thorough. They're NSF certified and they're very thorough. They don't make any false claims. So there's a lot of contaminants in the water. There's a lot going on with our water. So for instance, if you think that the lead has been removed by the city, that's probably good. And even if you changed all the pipes in your home and got the lead out, then there's still lead coming in from the streets. So you would want a drinking water filter that can reduce the lead also. And I think most people have heard about things like microplastics. We know that we have a tendency to have plastics for everything. We have, take-home containers and all that. So the microplastics are just these tiny little pieces, and they're in our salt, and they're in even bottled water is full of microplastics, and the food that we have, and it's in the air. So the multi-pure drinking water filter reduces these microplastics up to almost 99%. And there's a whole group called emerging contaminants, and the microplastics are part of that. Things like pharmaceuticals. When people dump pharmaceuticals down the drain, they don't realize that that's ultimately ending up in the water supply. And things like pesticides and herbicides, those are also reduced by the multi-pure unit. When they put chlorine and chloramine into the water, those form a byproduct they call it disinfection byproducts, and it's things like trihalomethanes. And the multi-pure reduces both chloramine and chlorine. It turns out that they started putting in ammonia into the chlorine, which is called chloramine, because it doesn't evaporate quite so quickly. So that's another contaminant that the unit reduces. Possibly lately, people have been hearing about PFOAs and PFOSs, and these are called forever chemicals because when the firefighters are fighting a fire from the air and they're putting down a spray of a retardant, that is filled with forever chemicals, PFOAs and S's. And so those are just coating the environment, and they also were prevalent in the 70s or the 80s when Teflon was such a big deal. And now, because of what got produced through Teflon, those forever chemicals are just all over the place as well. So that's a little bit about the contaminants. It doesn't take a lot to kind of get bleary-eyed when you start hearing a bunch of names go off, but there's a lot going on there, and this multi-pure unit reduces 83 contaminants. So it's certified from the first gallon to the 1200th gallon. And some other units that are out there on the market claim arsenic reduction, but they only reduce for 80 gallons, whereas the multi-pure reduces all the way to 1200 gallons. And notice I'm using the word reduce because they claim up to like 99%, not 100%, but 97 to 99%. So this is why multi-pure is at the top of the line out of 20,000 brands, is because these NSF certifications keep them honest. NSF can show up in the laboratory at any time and pick up any filter, and it's going to do what the claim is, or they can purchase randomly offline. So that's some thoughts about contaminants.
Yeah, I can imagine and hearing all of this. A big concern is cancer. We're putting water in our body. There's chemicals. Even people with illnesses, fibromyalgia, allergies, things like that, it just exacerbates their condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a whole thing on the Multipure website called the health effects of these contaminants, and it just goes into, line listing, and cancer's at the top. And I look at all the people coming down with cancer, and it might be the way they're eating these days, but it also could be that some people are just drinking right out of the tap. And if they use something like a Brita pitcher or a Pure pitcher, those pitchers are so basic. What they do is they deal with the chlorine, not even chloramine, but chlorine. And when you're pulling out chlorine, then your water tastes better. So they feel confident, but they don't realize there's arsenic and PFOAs and all these other things in there. So, and it turns out Brita pitchers actually cost more than Multipures, because you're supposed to change the filter every 3 months. And that ends up being a lot of filters over a long period of time, whereas the Multipure can go about 13 or 14 months before changing it out.
Nice. How did you get here? You were doing therapy. You got into water.
Oh boy, they're starting the drilling upstairs. I'm so sorry. They're supposed to stop that.
Kids, work. It's all good.
Okay. Well, it was 1982 that I graduated as a social worker, and it was 2011 that I came into Multipure. So there was a long period of working in psychiatric hospitals as a psych tech and lockup units, and I was a social worker, and I thought I was going that route, but then I ended up going into a massage practice, therapeutic massage practice in 1984. And then right after that, I went into a whole craniosacral therapy practice. So my main practice is the body work. That's the mainstay. But in 2011, I went ahead and jumped on board with Multipure because I had an ionizer. That's a whole nother story. And I didn't have a pre-filter, which the Multipure could be a pre-filter. And I just started getting hip, to what I was drinking in the water, what was going into my system. There's a saying, get a filter or be the filter. So if you don't have a thorough, effective filter, then your kidneys are having to work hard, and it's going through your blood and your liver. Let's see, I lost my train of thought there. And because I'm an environmentalist, because I really love the earth, I just love the earth very, very much. And I'm one of these people who picks up trash and stuff. But I wanted to stop using plastics, quit putting plastics in the environment. And I think I was probably, getting big gallons of plastic water bottles back in 2011. So this was a solution about all that plastic pollution, basically. So that's kind of what triggered me to go in that direction. And then, from 2011 to now, 12 years, I had some beautiful mentors who took me along the path and educated me about everything you could want to know, 25-year Multipure distributors. So I found myself under sinks and, helping with installations and becoming an informant for this industry. And so that's the flavor of how I got from social worker to adding in Multipure.
I love that. And I also love your line, filter or be the filter, because that was just a bam moment. So I typed in that because that's so true.
It really highlights what's happening there. And, there's things like reverse osmosis units. A lot of people will go to the store, they go to Lowe's, they pick up a $150 unit. They're all proud of themselves because they're doing something about their water. But people don't realize that reverse osmosis units waste anywhere from 1 to 7 gallons down the drain for every gallon they produce. They waste water, and it's because they have this large holding tank and the water's filtering in and cycling and dumping right into the sewer. And that's how they're getting out their contaminants. But there's a very small membrane that's doing all the contaminant reduction. And that membrane is missing a lot of contaminants. There's all kinds of things coming through a small little membrane. Like here's the multi-pure. It's an 11 by 6 unit with the filter inside. And it's a carbon block, dense carbon block. The water has to push through and come out. And then when you're looking at an RO, it's just cycling and dumping and going through a little tiny unit. So there's a lot of contaminants coming through, wasting a lot of water, and the membrane is pulling out all the minerals. So now you've got acidic water. With the multi-pure, it's leaving the minerals in, and therefore it's called alkaline. Alkaline water is a kind of a buzzword. You see it on the, water bottles and all, but that just means that the minerals are left in. And it is better to have mineralized water than to have acidic water. Because once you pull the minerals out, then you got to put drops to put them back in, or acidic water can borrow minerals from your bones. This is an established fact. It's not good for the bones to drink acidic water. So that's a few comments about reverse osmosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you mentioned that your water filter eliminate toxins and others. You talked about it doesn't the water of minerals, its alkalinity. Is there anything else that makes the multi-pure out?
Well, let's see. I think that's the most of it. It's of these 20,000 units that are on the market, and all of the false claims, most companies are using a laboratory. They're just using a lab. It's a basic local lab. NSF certification is not only very pricey, about every 3 to 5 years, multi-pure has them come in and recheck the filters to find more contaminants potentially. But it's the certification is the way to go, whereas a lot of these things are just using labs. And so the false claims are very high. I think it's kind of important to mention that along with they've also got bath balls and shower filters, maybe to say something about the shower filters, that if you're in a shower and you're breathing in chlorine gases, or you've got chlorine on your skin and your hair, then you want a type of a filter. I don't know where it went. You want a type of a filter that can deal with the chlorine in there. And so this will pull out the chlorine for about 9 months, and the bath ball, maybe about 2,000 baths, something like that. So those are both products by Multi-Pure also, and worth considering getting. They also have a hose filter. So if you want to hose your garden and not put any chlorine into your vegetables, that's a route for that.
And that's good thinking. You don't even really think shower when you're in the shower or in the tub, soaking your skin.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Now
maybe one more.
Does it go underneath the sink, or does it the water supply? It even goes to like bathrooms and other areas of your house.
Okay. Let me say one more thing. Oh dear. Okay, I will shift with you. I'm hearing the pounding upstairs, so I apologize. Yes, it'll go below the sink, and it'll go, if a person has a very simple faucet, then you can screw right onto the faucet, and then it'll go kind of around the back of the faucet and sit on the counter. In most cases, we need to have a separate hole on the left or right of the main faucet to go down below and attach into the cold water down below. So it is, they call it a point of use filter. That means right at the kitchen sink. But in some cases, people have had to put them in the bathroom, and because they have a fancy sprayer faucet with no holes, and maybe they're renters. But I've been a renter for all the 12 years that I've been a distributor, and it just moves right along with me. It's not anything to take it out. It's, you don't leave it where you are necessarily.
So it's not complicated to set up.
No, they even come with an installation manual that tells you exactly what to do. But in many cases, it's nice to get a handyman to put it in for you, because you do need to go down below and screw into the faucet down below. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Multi-Pure's been around for 52 years. So they, and they were actually in Los Angeles. They were located in Los Angeles. But when we had the earthquake in '94, and it shook LA quite a bit, they were like, we're heading for Vegas. We're not going to be in a place where there's, earthquake potentials, because they have a gigantic lab that's doing all this filter production, creating the filter cartridges, and tons of water setups, that you don't want earthquakes disrupting. But at least they're USA made, and they keep all the, ingredients from the US, and they're USA based. So that's kind of nice.
Some people are worried about the cost of putting in a water filter. What would you say to those that are going to cost too much?
Okay. Well, for one thing, we did a cost comparison on the Britas, and we found out that Brita pitchers cost more because of the massive filter cartridge changeouts. Multi-Pure has it set up on the website, on like, say, my website, where a person can make 4 payments with no interest over a 2-month period. So one payment every 2 weeks for 2 months to break the cost up. Now, one thing to consider is, let's say you're purchasing the unit and you think that something like $500 is a lot. But then if you think about it for 40 years into your future, you only have just one cost, and then you change the filter out every 13, 14 months at about $125. So you've gone into just almost no cost within the first year. And oftentimes they have like a free shower filter as a promo, or a water emergency treatment kit for, if there's an emergency like earthquakes or something. So it's whatever. Okay, so let's say a reverse osmosis unit is $160, $200, but then it's wasting so much water. This isn't wasting a drop, So it's just a one-time cost.
Yeah, I can see how if you're buying bottled water, the Brita water and things like that.
It really adds up. And people think they're getting a smoking bargain when they go to Costco and pick up their case of water. Aside from the whole plastics issue, they have no idea that the cost of buying cases after cases over all the years is just absolutely, it's like in the thousands compared to changing out a filter cartridge at $130. Yeah, so that's, just something to consider, the cost.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that you got into this because of wanting to reduce plastics. And that's something that I've really been goal of lately. So I do appreciate that.
And there's Sparklets, and there's different brands where they'll come and deliver a 3-gallon container to you, but that is almost always reverse osmosis unit. And if they say it's alkaline, that means they put the minerals back in, but that is like 5 times more expensive than having your own filter, your own Multi-Pure filter. It's cases of bottled water and Sparklets delivering bottles onto your porch or whatever, much more expensive. And people think, yeah, but I got a great deal on this case. No, don't, look at how many times, and then look at how many times you're going to purchase those cases. And are you actually cleaning up your vegetables by pouring plastic water bottles on them? It's good to have it just flowing right out of the sink, basically, out of the faucet.
If someone wanted to reach out to you to get more information started, how can we reach you?
Do I have a place to put it in the chat box or no?
I'm going to type it in.
Okay. I can send it over to you in an email real quick. But let's see, my phone number. I'll give you my website first.
Okay.
www.multipure.com /T as in Tricia, T Fortina.
Okay.
And then my phone number, and I am sending this to you right now too, but my phone number is 805-844-2889. So I did just send that to you in an email.
What is the number again?
805-844-2889.
Okay.
I'm putting that in.
Those of you that are tuning in today, go ahead and visit the website or give Tricia a call.
Should I give you my email too, or email too?
I think this gives people plenty of time. They can reach you off your website. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any last comments you want to make? Please sign off.
Get a filter or be the filter, and imagine trusting the top of the line company, spending a few hundred, getting it in place, having it for 40 years, and passing it down to your children. It's a long-term investment, and it'll reliably be there with you and not waste any water.
Thank you
for
so
listening.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here and sharing your water wisdom.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, everyone. Thanks. And have a good day, everybody.